Regret is the only ghost that truly haunts a house. The words hang in the air, the truth of them settling like dust in the space around Louise. In the quiet of her office, the flickering lights cast long shadows against the walls, but Louise is unmoved, her hands steady on the alien symbols in front of her. The world outside her walls is in turmoil, but inside, she remains composed, detached, as though untouched by the gravity of it all. The mask she wears is one of reason, the cool logic of a scientist at the forefront of a breakthrough. Her eyes scan the symbols again, trying to decipher them, yet the quiet ache of knowing the future stirs beneath the surface. She thinks of Ian, her husband, sitting across the room during their earlier conversation, his eyes full of questions she cannot answer. He still doesn't know. He cannot. She must keep the mask intact, must remain the professor who sees only the scientific, the methodical, the understandable. The pain, the weight of her knowledge, must remain hidden behind this veil of professional distance. As she stares at the alien symbols, the room around her seems to grow smaller, the air heavier with the unspoken. Her mind drifts. The sterile environment blurs into a memory, a scene from her past, one of the few she allows herself to revisit. It's late afternoon, the sun sinking low, casting a soft, golden glow on her daughter's face. A moment of joy, of love, fleeting yet vivid. She remembers holding Hannah's hand, feeling the smallness of it in her own, the weight of the future pressing down on her with every heartbeat. In that instant, she knew. She knew what would come. The moments that should have been simple, the milestones of motherhood, would be overshadowed by a knowledge she could not escape. It was a truth too painful to voice, too heavy to share. Louise's chest tightens as the weight of that truth resurfaces. She can still feel Hannah's hand in hers, warm and trusting, unaware of the inevitable loss. Louise had chosen this path, though. She had chosen to bring her daughter into a life filled with joy, but also pain, knowing she would watch her grow up, only to watch her die far too soon. It was a choice she made without hesitation, but one that continues to haunt her. As the memory fades, she's left with an overwhelming emptiness. Her body aches, not from physical exhaustion, but from the emotional toll of the past. The tears that have not yet fallen sit just behind her eyes, heavy, waiting. She closes her eyes for a moment, and the room spins. She can almost hear the sound of Hannah's laughter, distant, like an echo from another life. A soft breath escapes Louise's lips. The mask is slipping. She knows it. It's slipping because the truth is too much to carry alone. In this moment, she is no longer just the professor. She is the mother, the woman who made a choice and now must live with it. The walls of the room seem to close in on her as she exhales, each breath a slow release of the tension she's held for so long. The grief that has been buried beneath layers of intellect and logic rises to the surface, and she allows herself to feel it. Just for a moment. Just enough to acknowledge it. The knowledge of the future, the path she's chosen for herself and for her daughter, is not a burden she can lay down easily. But it's a truth she must accept. No more masks. No more running from the inevitable. Louise takes a deep breath, steadies herself, and opens her eyes. The room, still and silent, offers no answers, only the weight of what she must face next. The hum of the spaceship outside echoes softly, a distant reminder of the unknown, but inside, the air feels heavier, laden with years of unspoken emotions. Louise stares at the alien symbols before her, the same ones she's studied for hours, days, weeks, yet they seem to pulse with new meaning now, as if they, too, understand the burden she carries. Her hands tremble as she picks up the ink-stained pen, writing a few symbols on the paper, but it's not the language she's focused on. It's the feeling of her fingers against the cold paper, a small act that grounds her in this moment, in the weight of what she's lost and what she still holds. She remembers a different time, a time before the knowledge of the future shadowed every choice. It's a quiet evening, the house lit with the soft glow of the kitchen light. Ian is there, his face tired, but warm. With love. She can see it clearly in her mind's eye, his hands, rough from work, cupping her face as he whispers about the life they'll have, the dreams they'll build. At that moment, she had believed it was possible. She had believed in a future that was open, unwritten, full of potential. But that belief, that innocence, slowly faded as the truth crept in, as the realization that their time would be fleeting became undeniable. She hadn't told Ian yet. She hadn't told him that the life they dreamed of was doomed, that their daughter would grow up knowing love only to be taken from it far too soon. It wasn't that she didn't want to tell him, it was that she couldn't. Not then. Not when the weight of knowing would crush everything they had built together. The memory shifts, the warmth of the kitchen fading into a cold, sterile silence. The walls of her office feel smaller now, closing in as she remembers the first time she saw Hannah's face, the innocence in her eyes, the softness of her small hand reaching up to touch her face. Louise can still feel the weight of that moment, the love that filled her heart, but also the fear, the knowledge that every laugh, every tear, would be fleeting. She had chosen this, chosen to let her daughter live despite the certainty of the pain that would follow. The decision wasn't easy, and yet, in the quiet of the office, with the alien symbols in front of her, it feels as though it was made a lifetime ago, as if it belongs to someone else. Her breath catches in her chest, the weight of her choice crashing down again. Louise tries to steady herself, but the tears she's held back are threatening to fall. She wipes them away, quick, as though the act of letting them spill would be an admission of weakness. But it's not weakness. It's the truth of her choice. A choice made in love, in the hope of something greater. And now, with the future looming, with the knowledge of what will come, she must live with it. The symbols before her blur as her eyes well with tears, but Louise doesn't look away. She stares at them, determined, as if understanding them will bring her some peace. She knows, deep down, that peace will never come, not completely. There is no undoing what's been done, no erasing the pain, no escaping the future that's already written. But there is a choice now, a choice to live with it, to walk through the fire, not around it. She can't change what's coming, but she can choose to face it with the same courage that brought her here. She can choose to live, fully and completely, in each moment, no matter how painful it may be. And for the first time, she allows herself to feel that small spark of acceptance, the beginning of a truth she's been avoiding for so long. The quiet hum of the spacecraft now feels more like a distant echo, as though the weight of the truth is beginning to catch up with Louise. The symbols on the page blur before her eyes, no longer just a puzzle to solve, but a mirror reflecting everything she's buried. The sound of her own breath fills the room, slow, deliberate, as she closes her eyes, surrendering to the tidal wave of emotions she's been avoiding. The sterile office around her suddenly feels like a tomb, a space meant to keep the chaos at bay, but in this moment, chaos reigns. She remembers the first time she realized she couldn't escape the future. It was on a quiet evening, much like this one, sitting with Ian at the kitchen table, their fingers brushing as they discussed their plans for the future. She had felt a deep, undeniable certainty then, a cold truth that gnawed at her, a truth that her heart refused to accept, but her mind could not deny. She had to live in a world where every decision, every action, was bound by the knowledge of what would come. It was a weight too heavy for anyone to bear alone, and yet, she was alone with it. Ian didn't know, and she couldn't bring herself to tell him. The truth would break him, and she wasn't sure if she could survive the aftermath of that revelation. She hadn't been able to tell him that their future, the one they dreamed of, was already written, that their daughter's life, full of love, would be cut short. She had made that choice for them, a choice that filled her with both love and guilt, a love so fierce that it could withstand any pain, but a guilt so consuming that it threatened to destroy her. The pain of knowing the future wasn't just emotional, it was physical. It was the ache in her chest when she looked at Ian, knowing that he would never understand why she had made the decisions she did. It was the silent tears she wiped away in the dark, the way her hands trembled when she reached out to hold her daughter, feeling the warmth of her little hand, knowing it would slip away too soon. But she couldn't change it. She couldn't undo the future. As the memory fades, Louise's mind shifts back to the present. The symbols before her seem to dance, as if mocking her, reminding her of everything she has already lost and everything she still must face. She wishes, for a brief moment, that she could turn back time, that she could undo the choices she made, but she knows that's impossible. The symbols aren't just a key to communication, They are a key to understanding, to accepting, to moving forward. The future may already be written, but Louise knows that her journey is far from over. Her shoulders slump as the weight of it all presses down on her. She feels the sting of tears behind her eyes, the slow burn of resignation, but she doesn't allow herself to break. Not yet. She can't afford to. The future, with all its pain and beauty, is ahead of her, and she must face it, not as a victim of fate, but as a woman who has chosen to love, despite knowing the cost. With a deep breath, she straightens her back, and for the first time in a long while, she allows herself to acknowledge the truth. She cannot change what's coming, but she can change how she lives in the time she has left. The stillness of the room presses down on Louise, a quiet weight that seems to fill every corner of the sterile space. Her eyes linger on the symbols once again, but this time they seem distant, unfamiliar. The room around her feels colder, as if the very air recognizes the shift inside her. She can no longer separate herself from what she knows, and that knowledge gnaws at her, a constant reminder of the choices she's made and the ones she has yet to face. She can almost hear Ian's voice, soft yet filled with disbelief, asking her why she chose to go through with it. Why choose this life, knowing the pain, knowing the heartbreak that waits for them? Louise can't answer him, not yet. The decision to have Hannah, to bring her into this world, had been a quiet one, made in the solitude of her heart, yet the weight of it had always been with her. She had chosen to love, to cherish, despite knowing the inevitable end. The days spent holding her daughter, watching her grow, were filled with moments of joy, but always tinged with the shadow of what would come. There had been no escaping the truth, only learning to live with it. And now, sitting alone in this room, the truth weighs heavier than ever. The sacrifice she had made was not one of grand gestures or dramatic acts. It was in the quiet moments, in the decisions that others never saw. It was in the way she had learned to push aside the gnawing fear of loss to focus on the small, fleeting joys of motherhood. Louise closes her eyes for a moment, and in the darkness, she sees the image of Ian's face, his features drawn tight with confusion and pain. She recalls the night they first spoke of the future, when he asked her about their plans, their hopes. She had smiled then, told him everything would be fine, that they would figure it out together. But inside, she had known the truth. There was no future they could build that wouldn't be tainted by what she already knew. And so she had carried the burden, silently, for years. The truth she carried had not been just her own. It had been a shared burden, though Ian never knew it. She had chosen this path because she couldn't live with the alternative, the thought of not knowing her daughter, of not experiencing the love, even if it was short-lived. But now, as she sits in this room, surrounded by the evidence of that choice, she feels the weight of it in a way she never has before. The past, the present, and the future collide in her mind, and for the first time, she sees the full extent of the sacrifice she made. It was not just her future she had altered. It was Ian's, it was Hannah's, it was everyone's. She had chosen this path for them, but in doing so, she had changed the course of their lives in ways she could never have predicted. The symbols before her blur, the meaning of them slipping away as her thoughts turn inward. She doesn't have the answers. She doesn't know if she made the right choice. But one thing is certain, there is no going back. The sacrifice has been made, and now she must live with it, face it, and accept the consequences, whatever they may be. Her heart aches, but she doesn't look away. She faces the truth, no matter how painful, and lets it settle in her chest. She will carry it, as she has carried it all these years, and she will learn to live with it. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but the present is hers, and she will live it fully, without regret. The room feels heavier now, as though the walls themselves are closing in on Louise, pressing in the truth she's been avoiding. She stares at the symbols, the alien language now more like a riddle she can't solve, not because of its complexity, but because it feels disconnected from her own reality. Her thoughts drift back to Ian, to the quiet tension that has been growing between them for weeks. She remembers the moment he first asked her about their future, how his voice was laced with both hope and fear. He didn't know, couldn't know, the depth of her knowledge, the weight of the choices she carried. How could she explain to him that every step they took together was already written, that their daughter's life, full of love, would be short-lived? She hadn't found the words, couldn't bring herself to share the future with him, not knowing if he could bear it. The silence between them had been growing, thickening like smoke in a room with no windows. The air was heavy with the unspoken, with the things neither of them could bring themselves to say. And now, the truth weighs on Louise like a stone, the pain of not sharing this burden with him eating away at her. She remembers the days after Hannah was born, the joy and love flooding her heart, tempered only by the knowledge that this joy would be fleeting. Those moments, when Hannah's tiny fingers curled around her own, when Ian would look at their daughter, with such innocence and love, were tainted by the understanding that it would all end too soon. Louise had chosen to keep that secret, to shield Ian from the pain of knowing, but now, sitting alone in this room, the weight of that decision is almost unbearable. The future looms, its shadow stretching longer with every passing moment, and yet she cannot escape it. The alien symbols on the page blur before her eyes once more, but this time, they feel irrelevant. The future, the past, they're all tangled up in her mind, and no matter how much she tries to make sense of them, she can't. She can't undo the choices she made, the life she chose to give her daughter. There's no escape from what's coming. The truth she carries is as inevitable as the sunrise, and she cannot outrun it. But she knows that despite the pain, despite the weight of the knowledge, she must face it. She cannot keep hiding behind the mask of reason, cannot keep pretending that everything will be okay when it won't. Louise takes a deep breath, her chest tight with emotion, and for the first time in a long time, she allows herself to feel the full weight of her choices. The love she has for Hannah, for Ian, is a love filled with both beauty and sorrow. It is a love that cannot be erased, a love that she must carry with her for the rest of her life. And as she stares at the symbols, she understands, at last, that the pain is not something to be avoided. It is something to be lived with, something to be accepted. She cannot change the future, but she can choose how to live in it. And in this moment, she chooses to live fully, to embrace the love and the pain, to accept what is to come with grace, knowing that no matter what, she will have loved deeply. The room feels smaller now, the weight of the truth pressing down on Louise's chest like a vice. She sits at the desk, her hands gripping the edge as she fights to steady her breathing. The symbols before her remain unchanged, but they no longer hold any meaning. The future, the past, they are all tangled in her mind, and for the first time, Louise feels the full force of the truth she's been running from. The choice she made, the decision to live fully despite knowing the inevitable pain that awaited her, has come to a head. The reality of it crashes in on her, and for a moment, she feels as though she might collapse under its weight. Her eyes close, and she can almost hear Ian's voice, filled with both love and confusion, asking her why. Why did she choose this path, knowing what would come? She had never been able to explain it to him, not fully. How could she explain that the love she had for him, for their daughter, was both beautiful and heartbreaking? That the future they dreamed of was not something they could have, that the life they would share would be short and filled with sorrow? The silence between them had grown over the years, a chasm that neither of them could bridge. Louise had hidden behind her mask of reason, her academic detachment, believing that she could protect Ian from the truth. But now, sitting alone in this room, she realizes that her silence has only deepened the divide between them. She could no longer keep the secret, not when the pain of it threatened to consume her. Her heart aches as she thinks of Ian, of the way he still doesn't understand, of the way he still believes they could have a future together without knowing the inevitable loss that waits. The decision to keep him in the dark had been hers, but it had come at a cost. Louise's chest tightens with the weight of that cost, but she knows that there is no undoing it. There is no going back. The path she has walked, the life she has chosen, has led her to this moment, and she must face it, no matter how painful it is. The tears she has held back for so long are finally threatening to fall, but she doesn't let them. She can't. She has learned to carry her pain in silence, to bear it without showing the world the depth of her grief. The world doesn't need to see it, doesn't need to understand. But in this moment, alone with her thoughts, Louise realizes that she cannot keep running from the truth anymore. She cannot keep hiding behind the mask of stoicism. The love she has for Ian, for their daughter, is too great to be buried beneath a facade. It is a love that must be felt, that must be acknowledged, even if it comes with the knowledge of the inevitable loss. With a deep breath, Louise opens her eyes, and for the first time, she allows herself to feel the full weight of what she has chosen. She has made her peace with the future, not because she has accepted it, but because she has chosen to face it, to live in it fully. The past, the present, and the future are no longer separate to her. They are all part of the same journey, the same story. And as she sits in the quiet room, surrounded by the symbols that once held so much meaning, she knows that she has come to the end of one path and the beginning of another. The future is still uncertain, but for the first time, she is ready to face it, to embrace it, no matter what it brings. The air in the room feels thick, suffocating, as Louise sits there, staring at the empty space around her. The weight of her choices still hangs heavily in the air, but for the first time, she feels a shift, a quiet breaking of the dam that has held her back. The walls that had once seemed so solid, so impenetrable, now feel like they're starting to crumble, piece by piece. She hears the sound of Ian's voice again, softer now, but filled with a quiet desperation she hadn't noticed before. It's been days since they last spoke, since the silence between them grew unbearable, each of them lost in their own world, unable to reach the other. But now, as Louise sits there in the stillness, she realizes that the truth has never really been hidden from him, not completely. He's known, in some way, the burden she's carried, the choices she's made. He has seen it in the way she pulls away, in the way she's always just a little too distant, a little too caught up in her own thoughts. The moment the words leave Ian's lips in her memory, it's as if everything shifts. Why didn't you tell me? His voice shakes with the weight of the question, not just the one he's asking now, but the one he's been asking all along. Why had she chosen to carry this alone? Why had she kept him in the dark, knowing that their future together was slipping through their fingers like sand in the wind? Louise wants to answer him, wants to explain, but the words feel too heavy, too final. She had thought, for so long, that she was protecting him by keeping the truth hidden. But now, she's not so sure. The silence between them has been louder than any words could ever be, and it's only in the quiet of this moment that she realizes the cost of that silence. She thinks of their time together, of all the moments they shared, the laughter, the love, the hopes they once had. But she also thinks of the moments she had to keep to herself, the moments when she had to lock away the truth in the deepest part of her heart, because she couldn't bear to face it, not then. She couldn't bear to see Ian's face, filled with disbelief, filled with the pain of knowing what was to come. The truth was a burden she had chosen to carry alone, and now, as the reality of that choice sinks in, she feels the weight of it pressing down on her chest. The room around her seems to close in, and for a brief moment, she feels like she might collapse under the pressure. But she doesn't. She can't. Because in this moment, she knows something she hasn't allowed herself to understand before. The choice she made, the path she chose, was never about hiding the truth. It was about loving, even in the face of unbearable loss. The silence was never meant to protect Ian. It was meant to protect her from the pain of seeing him hurt, of seeing him carry the burden she had chosen for them both. But now, as the truth floods her mind, she realizes that the only way forward is to face it together. She stands, her legs trembling, but firm. The time for hiding, for silence, has passed. There is no more running from what they both know is inevitable. There is only the choice to live in the truth, to walk forward in the love they still share, no matter what the future holds. The room is still, heavy with the silence that stretches between them. Louise stands by the window now, staring out at the vast expanse of nothingness. The stars beyond are distant, cold, but in her chest, a warmth is beginning to grow, fragile, hesitant. She can feel Ian behind her, his presence familiar and yet distant. The gap between them has always been there, but now it feels different, like the space is filled with something new, something raw. She knows that the moment of truth has come, that there is no going back, no more walls to hide behind. She turns, slowly, to face him. He's watching her, his eyes filled with something that she can't quite place. Hope, perhaps, or maybe it's simply the need for understanding. She opens her mouth, but the words feel foreign, heavy, too much to say all at once. "I'm sorry," she whispers, The apology not for the secret she kept, but for the distance she put between them, for the moments she chose to carry alone, believing that she was sparing him from the burden of knowing. Ian steps forward, his face softening, but his eyes remain cautious, as though waiting for the real truth, the one she's been too afraid to speak. She takes a breath, the weight of her choices pressing down on her chest once again. But now, for the first time, she doesn't feel the need to hide it. I knew, she says, her voice trembling, but steady. I knew what was coming. I knew I couldn't change it. And I didn't know how to tell you that I chose to carry that burden because I couldn't bear to see you hurt. Ian looks at her, and for a long moment, there's nothing but the silence between them, but it's a different kind of silence now, soft, understanding, like the space between them is finally being bridged. He reaches out, not with words, but with his hand, extending it in a gesture of both invitation and forgiveness. She steps forward, slowly, her own hand trembling as she places it in his. It's a simple touch, but in it, she feels the weight of everything they've both carried, the years of distance, the secrets, the pain. It's all here, in this quiet moment, and yet, for the first time, she doesn't feel the need to run from it. She feels his warmth, his presence, and she realizes that this connection between them, is all they have. She looks up at him, and in his eyes, she sees the same pain, the same love, the same understanding. The truth may have come too late, but it's here now, and that is enough. We still have time, she says, the words coming out more certain than she feels. We still have today, right now. And that's all we need. Ian doesn't answer at first, but his grip tightens around her hand, and in that simple act, Louise feels the weight of everything they've both lost, and everything they've still yet to gain. The future is uncertain, but in this moment, together, they have everything they need to face it. And for the first time in a long while, Louise feels the smallest spark of hope, a quiet acceptance of what has been and what will come. It's not the peace she expected, but it's enough for now. The quiet hum of the room lingers in the air, the soft sound of their breathing the only thing that breaks the stillness. Louise and Ian stand together, the space between them no longer a chasm, but a place where their shared pain and love can coexist. The weight of the past is still there, but it no longer feels as suffocating, as if the simple act of facing the truth has opened a window, letting in a breath of fresh air. Louise feels Ian's hand in hers, the familiar warmth grounding her, giving her the strength she needs to take the next step. She doesn't know what the future holds. She doesn't even know what tomorrow will bring. But for the first time in a long time, she knows she is not alone in it. The pain of the past, the fear of what's to come, has not disappeared, but it no longer controls her. She can still feel the sting of loss, the ache that comes with knowing how fleeting everything is, but there's also something else now. Something softer, something that feels like peace. Louise takes a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs, and in that breath, she finds the strength to move forward. The choice she made, the life she gave her daughter, has shaped who she is, but it does not define her. It is a part of her, yes, but it is not all of her. She looks at Ian, his face softened by the vulnerability they now share, and she knows that this is the beginning of something new. There are still so many unanswered questions, so many things they must face together. But in this moment, all that matters is that they are here, together, willing to embrace whatever comes next. We can't change what's already happened, she says, her voice steady. But we can choose how we live in the moments we have left. Ian doesn't respond with words, but he doesn't need to. His eyes say everything, and for the first time, Louise believes him. The future is uncertain, yes, but they are no longer bound by the weight of regret. They are free to move forward, to live fully in each moment, and to face whatever comes with open hearts. She takes another deep breath, this time feeling the weight in her chest ease, as if the world itself is giving her permission to let go. It's not an easy choice, not one without pain, but it is a choice. And in this moment, Louise knows that she has chosen to live, not in fear, but in love. The past may have shaped her, but it will not dictate her future. She has the power to choose, to heal, to move forward with hope in her heart. And that is enough.